I come from kind of an educational background, but I will say the line trade is extremely humbling. When you start out, you're around these people that have been doing it a long time, and you start to learn these tricks, and you're kind of like, how can I not figure this out? So I got humbled pretty quick because when you're young and young, strong like that, you figure you're gonna do extremely well right away, and I didn't. And I ate humble pie pretty quick, and I think that was the best thing for me. And it put me in a place where I was willing to listen and learn, and it put me in a good spot. Literally, the first like 6 months there, I was hooked, like hooked. I loved it, the challenge of it, and then just being with all the boys out in the field. It was fun. And it still is fun. Obviously it's changed now. I'm in a different role, but it's still the same kind of thing. If you're with your buddies and you're out in the middle of nowhere climbing 200-foot towers, like you can't get anything better. I don't think. You got to be a pest, really. You got to be a pest. Go to contractor, and just keep giving your resume in and keep trying, and then eventually they're going to be like, oh, fine, let's try you out. But I was that way. I was going door to door, after work, going door to door with resumes every week, knocking on doors, making phone calls, and I think about it now because I have people calling me with that, and I'm just like, yeah, whatever. But then I'm like, I was that kid one day. Like some of these kids are probably worth a shot, and everyone deserves an opportunity at the end of the day as long as they're willing to try. I think so.
We'll make the sacrifice too, though, because it's not going to be that easy. Just because you have a job, say you live in Houston, there's a job out the street, you might not get there. You might have to drive.
Yeah.
You have to move to get that apprenticeship. But then once you have an apprenticeship, you can move around after that. But it's not going to be just go work at Walmart down the street.
That's why I talk to apprentices now, like they're stuck on Highline for years. And I'm like, you should get in the city and start doing live distribution, or get into underground. Like learn everything and, just absorb everything you can, because maybe, a lot of people say, oh, I don't want to do underground or whatever. But at the end of the day, you might really enjoy it. I did a couple walkthroughs because one of my best friends, his brother's a cableman at BC Hydro. And he's like, do you want to come on a walkthrough of cable? And I went in and did that with him. And I was like, this ain't for me. But I'm glad I did it because, maybe I would have enjoyed it,
Sure.
And I've kind of find something I really enjoy. Obviously, the bare hand energized transmission work I enjoy the most. But I think apprentices need to learn how to do and go and absorb everything they can, because a lot of people chase the money, but I think at the end of the day you should chase the knowledge and chase the skill. The energized work, it's so planned and precise, like everything's calculated, everything's like that's why I think the energized work
reason, right?
the energized work is safer, because we take the time to plan it and we calculate it. We would sit there, like me and him would go look at a structure and we'd talk about it half a day and like calculate tensions and bisects and forces and what size slings we need or shackles or anything like that. We would take the time and all go through it, and it's crucial to do that. And I think even in the de-energized world, that should be a thing, because, so if something happens, it happens quick and you can't plan for that.
What's the state of energized bare hand work look like in this country? Two guys like spend a lot of time in that field. For people that might be listening that want to get into it, is there lots of work out there?
I think
Is there
that's
opportunity?
probably the future of everything. I think the amount of population, the more difficulty pulling clearances, and the amount of load on everything, I think there's going to be a point where, I know this summer, the utility we're working for right now, they couldn't turn anything off. So if you're going to want to do energized work, it's like, it's the future. It is. It truly is.
Just because you're a journeyman doesn't mean shit. You got to be open-minded. You honestly have to have some experience too. It's not like just coming out and being like, yeah, I've done distribution and underground, get me in there. I think guys need to see some transmission.
Yeah.
Well, they do need to see transmission before they get into it, because, yeah, it's all line work, but at least if you have the tooling down and
some
the rigging
energized
down,
transmission.
Yeah, energized, all that.
Yeah.
Because at least you get the concept down, because when you get into holding 345,000 volts in your hands and you're making 150-foot, 200-foot bypass jumpers and stuff, like, you shouldn't be thinking about the rigging needed. You should be thinking about your limits and
everything
the bare
should
hand
be
aspect.
calculated. Like I said before, like when I thought bare hand, it was top dogs. It was guys that were very talented, very experienced, very good at what they did. I still hold that to that level. No more cowboy shit. No more like, let's just see what happens. No, you better have the math done. You better have your rigging up to snuff. You better have everyone on board understanding what's going on. Because that cowboy stuff, the ego stuff, like, you got to throw that out. Like, there's too much of it. Like, and that's what I see nowadays. Like, obviously the ego's always there. That's just how linemen are. We all try to compete. We all try to race. But at the end of the day, if I'm clipping and my buddy's clipping and I'm beating him, I have no problem telling him why I'm beating him. Try this, set up here, go do this, go do that. I'm not going to hold secrets. I'm not scared to give someone more knowledge or my knowledge, and I'm not worried if they're going to take my position. I don't care. Maybe they deserve it more than me.
Craziest thing you've ever seen on the job?
We were working on a job somewhere, and I think there was a switching step to isolate everything. This is way back. I think I was only topped out for a couple of years. And foreman at the time got us to move on switching step, I think 20 or something. But realistically, we were only on switch step like 14. So we went up in the air, and our job was to break parallel over a 3-phase distribution, double dead end jumper over top. So we were to break parallel, cut open the jumper, and we were half cut. And I'm holding the cutters, Buddy's holding the jumper, and it was not ready to go. It was upset. And we were half cut, and it would just start barking, and we didn't know what to do. He's like, we got to go. And I was finished cutting, and he lifted up, and there was probably like an 8-foot, 9-foot arc. Like, I cannot believe it.
Roaring.
Could not believe it didn't jump and burn the arm. And it was so quiet after that for so long. Yeah.
It's kind of starting to show like what you can do energized. I think people probably like 20 years ago are like, yeah, you're not moving a 345 phase over 100 feet energized.
Or changing 500 towers out. Yeah. It's like, oh, we'll build a line master for 500.
Yeah, we did that one in
phase. It's like, that's impressive.
We did that one in Baton Rouge. Took down a lattice tower and built a monopole H-frame 500 energized over top of, I think, 6 different circuits and a highway. That was a fun job. That was a really good job, and like I said, I think it's the future everywhere. It's going to be very difficult in the future, if the way it's going, to turn lines off unless they have multiple circuits that can feed, but it's not going to be something they can easily do.
You learn something from absolutely everybody. Even if you show up to a job site and say there's just some shitters in the back that everyone knows aren't good, and just whatever. I've been taught so many tricks from guys I did not have respect for, but just the fact that I was around them and paying attention, I've learned tricks off guys that, I might not think are great, but as long as you keep an open mind, pay attention to what's going on around you, and you'll learn something from absolutely everybody. Even if there's not much respect for them, they'll still teach you something. No matter what happens, if you get stuck doing certain things, as long as you just realize just because you're a journeyman doesn't mean you are going to be all that. Like, who cares who you are? If you show up to any job, you don't know it, be, proactive. Tell everybody, hey, I haven't done this shit before. Just be easy on me. Like, I'm not stupid. Like, I'll figure it out, but I'm not that guy. So,
and it goes back to like networking. We all have buddies in the trade, and you're like, hey man, here's a picture of this structure. Like, what do you think I should do?
Yeah.
Like, you use essentially the assets that you got in your pocket, because there's times I'm like, I'll call a buddy and, hey, I'll FaceTime you and show you this structure, buddy. What do you think? And it's like, and you work through it together. That's big too.
Yeah.
Keep the ego out of it. It's a big thing. Every new job you go to, you're not going to have essentially the same crew. You're going to have to learn people all the time, whether a new guy starts or a guy quits and you get another person or whatever. But you got to be able to read them. And you got to, a lot of people, like, especially linemen, because a lot of linemen will say, yeah, I've done it all, I've seen it all, been there, done that. And after a day or two, you realize it's not true, and
or less.
And well, yeah. And it's, like it could take you an hour and you'd be like, yeah, this guy has no idea what he's doing. He's going to either cause a big error or get hurt. And you got to be, as a leader, you got to be able to see it, and you got to be able to put the right people in the right positions. And I think as a leader too, you need to teach, you need to train, you need to teach, you need to take the time. Because, like, at the end of the day, yes, you want to get the job done, but if you teach people accordingly, it just benefits everyone down the line.